Hey everyone, I'm Alex. I'm the author of the Koala Facebook gem, and I work at Sechs Wunderkinder on Wunderlist and Wunderkit. And I'm going to talk today a little bit about some experimentation that I've been doing recently around the render process. Kind of as background, our new app Wunderkit is entirely API driven. So of course we've been spending a lot of time thinking about how do we make it as uniform as possible, give clients control over what data comes out of it, and of course obviously how do you keep that data secure, make sure that only things go out that should go out, and to do this in a way that doesn't require a lot of developer work. And so I started looking at how Rails does rendering, and so a couple of things about it. Render for this purpose has been stable since 2.3. It behaves the same all the way into the current betas of 4.0. And ultimately, render works with an options hash that gets provided to whatever you're using, whether that's the default 2 JSON or active model serializers. I don't really know about some of the patterns that were discussed today, but and ultimately last, render is a controller action, so it has complete access to the state of the request. So I was just sort of thinking, what could we do? Can we use this in any way to make our lives easier? Here's just a really quick, you can see here in render, you get arguments, you turn them into options, you pass those options on. And so one of the problems we were looking to solve was data set size. So different clients will want different amounts of data. So the web may want to say give me everything the first time I go into this project. Whereas iOS may say, give me just the most basic information about these 150 people who are involved until I actually need more. And so the ideal solution obviously is to have whatever serialization you're using do it, not to have the API need to know user in this data set size should include these options. That should be really transparent. And so what I was playing with was you kind of wrapping render, getting the options hash, and then just being able to say the data set option is whatever's passed in the request or defaults to full. And then you just kind of pass that on, and then that goes in, and you can rely on that being available in 2JSON or the serializer or whatever you're using. Another example that you could use is current user info. If you're using active model serializers, that actually comes in by default. But if you're just using the vanilla 2JSON method, you don't get that. And so, but your output may depend on who the user is, whether they're looking at their own stuff or someone else's stuff. So again, that's really easy. You're just options user equals current user. Really simple. Another thing I was thinking about is, can we actually use an approach like this for a little bit of security? Maybe make sure that if there's some hole in my logic somewhere else in the application that lets me fetch records I shouldn't be able to see from the database, to keep those from going out. And you actually could. Before you call super, before it actually it goes to the actual render, you'd say if we've got data that's going to be rendered to JSON, run some secure content method on that could strip out any records that maybe I'm not actually allowed to see. And yeah, so are there downsides to this? Possibly. I don't know. Somehow I feel a little weird about wrapping render itself. And I don't know if I should or not. And I actually would love to get feedback from all of you. It would be awesome if there was some sort of before render hook, but as far as I know, there isn't. There really aren't any other major downsides in general that I can see. But yeah. And for the security part though, yeah, if you're going to do something like that, you have to be really careful, because you don't want to end up with securing 100 items means suddenly 100 extra database requests. That actually happened to us at one point, and it kind of sucks. And then you have to go in and refactor. And it's certainly not bulletproof. It's an additional possible layer. It's not everything. But it's something that we're experimenting with to see if it performs and if it could actually be really useful. So that's it. I'm Ars Duo on Twitter. I work at Sechs Wunderkinder. I'm going to talk more generally about API uniformity at the Barcelona Ruby conference, which kind of grew out of this lightning talk. So I'd love to hear any feedback you have.
Thanks.